Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that'll help you become your best self, and today we are talking about how to be happy when life is tough, what to do when happiness isn't easy. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to mention that I'd love for you to come be friends with me on Instagram. I'm at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. You're also welcome to send me an email at realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. I check that email all of the time now, so I can stay in touch with you guys and respond. Also, down there in the show notes, you will find a link to sign up to my weekly newsletter. It comes out every Monday morning. So if you'd like to be part of that, or I just do a couple chats about like random thoughts, therapy thoughts, I announce what's coming up, podcasts you may have missed, other things that you may have missed. Eventually, there'll be like launch times for free workshops and things like that. So check that out. Also, you can sign up for the Facebook group. Yeah, that's great too. There is a Facebook community called Real Positive Girl Community, and I'm trying to make it a place where people feel comfortable enough to share what they're going through and ask for advice and for me to share lives. I'm going live in there every single week and share resources and everything. And I think that would be a really good thing for you to join. I'm trying to get it ramped up. People are kind of a little bit quiet right now, but if you want to join it and just like start posting things and asking questions, that would be absolutely fantastic as well. And the last thing that's down there is a little link if you would like to support me in any sort of monetary way. No pressure at all. So check all that stuff out in the show notes below. But again, let's just go ahead and jump into today's topic, which again is how to be happy when life is tough, what to do when happiness isn't easy. So life can be kind of really sucky at times. Like, let's all just admit the truth here. It can really suck. It could be like terrible. It's like, why are we even, what's the point? Sometimes it's like, oh, you give and you're not getting back what you thought you would. Your return is low. And it can be really rough and you just don't know how to make it through. Sometimes you just get stuck. And there are times where I literally feel like I'm just sitting and standing. That's hilarious. I am sitting or standing, just staring out into space. And my husband's like, what are you looking at? I'm literally just like, I am just trying to make myself calm and really figure out how I'm going to make it through all this crap that we're going through. And, sometimes it can be like everyone around you is just telling you to be happy and push through and just suck it up. And while that advice might help the few select people that are able to ignore all negativity in their life and just push through, like kudos to you, you're amazing, it's not going to help the majority of us, for sure. Just like if you were to come up, if I was to be like, hey, you're like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm kind of having a rough time. And you're like, oh, just be happy or just suck it up. I'd be like, oh, okay, thanks. I'll talk to you not again anytime soon, because it's just not helpful, right? You can't just be like, just be happy, because now the thing that I do talk about a lot and I basically preach it is that we do choose how we feel. We choose our emotions, right? And so, yeah, I guess in theory, if you're going through something really hard, you get to decide if you're going to be negative about it or if you're just going to push through it or just be happy. But I feel like in those times, there is a boundary between choosing how you feel and faking how you feel, right? So I feel like you can choose not to be negative about it and not to be pissy and super over dramatic, but just to be like as calm as you can. And emotions are like a roller coaster, you could be like really upset and then you kind of like come down because you're understanding reason a bit, and then you get really hyped up because something else happens or something super frustrating or stressing happens, and then you come back down a little bit and you're just like kind of up and down and I think that's totally natural. It's acceptable. And granted, you can just be like, oh, just be happy. I think that when you choose the emotion and feelings that you want to have, you need to make sure that it's actually genuine. So maybe you're not ready to be happy, but you can just be calm, or you can just be accepting. You can just be like super medium in the middle, not happy or sad. You're just like, I'm just here chilling, waiting for my mindset to kind of like reset and be able to go to the next spot. So it's just hard. It can be really hard. Being happy can actually be hard. I feel like people either don't want to admit it because it sounds like you're giving up, or they don't believe it because they are really leaning into some BS about how you have to be positive and happy all the time, which is absolutely not true. And if you are one of those people that struggles with that and the expectation has been put on you to be happy all the time, I think you should scroll back into the archives of the podcast because I did an episode on how you don't have to be happy all the time, how it's okay to be sad, upset, in a bad mood, having a bad day. Like, those are totally acceptable things. And I think that we need to make that known to the entire world. So, being happy can actually be hard. I talk a lot about leaning into gratitude, which I'm sure you're like, but Sabrina, what about gratitude? Because I do talk a lot about it. I talk about leaning into it when we find it difficult to be positive or see the positives in our life, which again can just be like right there, but we're just like seeing red, that it's like we haven't fully pushed through what we're seeing to make sure that we're able to like cling to those things and be like, oh, we're right. This thing is still going life. Am I right? This thing is still going right in my life, right? Wow. um, you know, because like you want to like see those positives because so many things are going wrong or just not the way you want to. But I know that there are even times when that is difficult for me. I will just be upset. And, my husband will be like, hey, at least you can be grateful for this and this. And I'm like, no. And I'm just being honest. Like, because I do talk about how we need to lean into gratitude and be thankful and grateful for these things. And that can help kind of like, reset our mind, shift our perspective a little bit, and not let us sit in that pit of despair that I talk about. But sometimes it can be really hard. And there are times I've literally said that. He'll be like, oh, well, just be grateful this and this happening. I'm like, no, I don't want to. I want to take a moment to just like let it all like go, all the emotions to go through my body and understand how I'm feeling, maybe like why I'm upset, why I'm angry, why I'm so riled up, maybe why I'm not that riled up in comparison to some other things. And then I will shift to gratitude. Because I think maybe something that I haven't made super clear is that when I talk about, leaning into gratitude and like choosing your emotions, again, it has to be genuine. You have to genuinely teach and shift your mindset to the fact of, okay, I can be happy because I am grateful for these things, or I can be happy because I know at least this is a good thing that's happening, this is going right, and I will be able to get the help, the assistance, the plan in place, the roadmap I need to turn this biz around. It's not all just like dead in the ocean. It's not. It's possible for things to get better, and I think that's the difference. You really want to be able to shift your mindset and understand how to get out of these negative pits of despair, all this negative thinking and talking and believing, that you realize, okay, no, this is not where I want to be. This is not the fun place to be. This is the place where it makes me sad and cry a lot and want to stay in bed for days and days and days on end. So it's just having to figure out, like, what is that genuine emotion that I can shift into that is more positive than what I'm currently sitting in right now. So yeah, it's not, I'm not immediately like, yeah, I'm grateful for these 5 things. Sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not going to be grateful. Just give me another like 120 seconds and then I will figure out what needs to happen next. Like, you can acknowledge that you have many things to be grateful in life. I do. And I try to remind myself of that every single day because it's healthy and it helps me to, again, widen my perspective and realize things are not as bad as I see them, or they are really bad and they're affecting so many other people, but we can still bring it together. But you can get stuck in the negativity, just that's like parading through your mind, that it takes a little bit more effort to find that happiness again. It takes a little bit more effort to shift your mindset. It takes a little bit more effort for you to realize that you're on the precipice of falling into that pit of despair or needing to like climb back out and be like, okay, here we are. We can figure this out. Let's figure this ish out, right? And this is not something you should feel shameful for, despite the fact that some people try to make you feel that way. It's perfectly acceptable. The people that are trying to make you feel shameful for things are really leading from the heart of their insecurities. And that is the honest truth. They are so wrapped up in their own problems and insecurities that they are projecting their emotions onto you because that's all they know how to do to make themselves feel better. So they don't have to feel bad about who they are. They want to make everyone else feel bad. And that kind of just, like wipes the slate clean for what they're dealing with, at least in the moment. So don't feel shameful, especially if you haven't adopted positive coping mechanisms to handle negative experiences and things that can be overwhelming or even traumatic. So, you will feel like I can't be happy right now. I'm having a hard time tapping into gratitude and being grateful and thankful and understanding that things are maybe not as bad because you're leaning into negative coping mechanisms. And coping mechanisms can be things like smoking, drinking, pulling away from people that are trying to help you. It could be hurting yourself. It could be spending time with people that like hurt you and are not helpful for you. Maybe like binge eating, maybe like just doing other things that are not healthy for you, as opposed to a positive coping mechanism, which would be more of like exercise or reading a book or spending time with people that really pour life into you, or doing a hobby that you super, super enjoy, doing things that are going to take your mind off of and give your mind a break from dealing with all that negativity, but that aren't going to also harm you at the same time. Negative coping mechanisms, you're doubling down on the bad stuff. Positive ones, you are exchanging a negative for something that is more positive. So if you struggle with knowing how to shift your mindset when you get caught up in negativity, then of course it's going to be hard for you to be happy when it feels like the world is burning down around you. And anytime I talk about or I mention or think about the world burning down around you, I always, without a doubt, think of that meme of the dog sitting sitting in the chair at the table or the desk or whatever it is, and they're like, "I'm fine. It's fine. It's all fine." And then everything is like burning around. If you have not seen that meme, I think you should Google it. Use some of those keywords. You'll love it. every single time, without a hitch. So there are several common reasons that we can struggle with happiness in life, and I want to share those with you. Obviously, this is not a conclusive list. This is a very short list that I'm going to share with you really quick before we get to the actual tips. But I wanted to share with you just so you're aware of what might be holding you back and preventing you from tapping into joy. So I only have 4 that I want to mention because I feel like these are some big hitters and ones that you should be aware of in case you are not. So the first one is your happiness is dependent on something you can't control. We can control how we feel, how we react, how we respond, what we do. It's really hard to keep control of other people and circumstances and experiences that happen in our life. So this can definitely be the people in our lives and those relationships that we are involved in, or how much money we have, because again, you can manage as much as you can, but things will happen where you have to spend money, and or maybe you'll get a pay cut, or maybe you'll lose your job or something like that in regards to money. Or maybe you're just not getting the recognition that you want at your job or in your life or just in general. So if your happiness is solely dependent upon things that you can't control, then it will be really hard for you to engage in happiness as often as you would like or prefer. So just keep that in mind. The second one is you compare your life to others. We all know this is a bad thing. It's interesting how we all know it's a bad thing, including myself, and we still engage with it because it's such a hard habit to break. And so this is just a reminder and encouragement for me, for you, for everyone, that if you continue to compare your life to someone else that is in a different season, in a different chapter, even if it looks like things are identical, things are never identical, because you grew up in a different way, you have a different mindset, you have different things that trigger you, have had different traumatic experiences. It's going to be different. Even siblings that have grown up in the same household can look completely different and have different mindsets and beliefs and values, because we're all built differently, a lot similarly, but there are still key differences. And so if you are continuing to compare your life to someone else, you will always be unhappy, because you need to compare how your life was a year ago or 2 years ago to where you are now. And that can either help you really get your rear in gear to figure out your roadmap to move forward with how you want to have your best self, or it'll allow you to see that you have progressed and grown so much that you want to give yourself a pat on the back and be like, fan-freaking-tastic. So Stop comparing your life to others. It's not helpful. You're not problem solving at all, whatsoever. You're kind of leaning into victim mentality where you're like, woe as me. The third one is you spend time with people who are overly negative. You may not realize it, but the people that you surround yourself with, I would say no matter the cadence or how often, they're pouring into your life, and whether that's positivity or negativity or things that you agree with or you don't agree with, it all makes a difference. So please be aware that if you're spending time with people that are overly negative and engage in that on the regular and always complaining and never like actually trying to solve and better themselves and solve their problems, then that is what you are going to also adopt in your mindset as well. And then the last one is you are enduring things that don't make you happy. So this could be like friendships, jobs, activities, hobbies, whatever it is. You are continuing to push through on things that do not make you happy. And I understand that sometimes you have to keep that job because it's the only job you can have right now, or it's the job that pays the most, and you have to endure that pain. But if you're not also out there trying to figure out what you can switch to, what else you can do differently, how can you get that next better job, like in whatever time period, then you're not doing enough. Because if you're just going to continue to endure these things that are like dragging you down so much and not really try to investigate any change, then what are you doing? What's the point? What is the point? We should be trying to enjoy life and making the most of it as much as we can, not just continuing to endure pain on purpose. Just telling you. So, all these things and many more can be such huge happiness roadblocks in our life. Just this big, like, boulder that's in our way of tapping into the happiness that is inside of us somewhere. But if we learn how to navigate the hard moments and seasons in life, because sometimes it's short and sometimes it's long, it just depends, we will have the ability to be happy whenever we choose, dependent on our effort to shift our mindset. So you have to like put the effort in. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit more, sometimes it's going to be a little bit less, sometimes it's just going to be a normal amount for whatever that is for you. So today I want to share with you 7 ways to be happy even when life is tough and sucks. So 7 ways to be happy despite what you're going through. This is not a conclusive list. If this list does not work for you, I encourage you to go and Google like how to be happy in hard times. You will find a lot of literature and information and opinions and ideas. Go through the first like 3 to 5 search pages. Sometimes people go through more. I don't know. I usually stop at 5. And see what's best for you. This is just advice based upon my research and what I know to be true based on other people's lives. So anyway, here we go. Number 1, don't be too critical of yourself. It sounds easy because it is, but it's also really difficult. It's very difficult. Don't be too critical of yourself because attacking yourself doesn't solve much. Like really think about that. If you're continuing to tell yourself you're stupid, you're ugly, you don't amount to nothing. I can't believe you don't know how to do this already. You are terrible. Look what you got yourself into. This is awful. How is that solving anything? How is that solving anything? Especially if you have other people in your life that are saying the same things to you. Why are you putting that on double blast? No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear it from other people, and you really are probably not enjoying yourself telling yourself that. So attacking yourself doesn't solve much, nor does it contribute to problem solving. I fully believe, I'm sorry if that was loud, I had to make a point. I fully believe that if you would like to vent or share the hard things that you're going through, but you have no intention of figuring out a way to problem solve it or find help to problem solve it, then you're just complaining. You're not venting at that point. Venting includes actually having like ideas and plans to problem solve it or get help to do so. Just saying what's wrong and not doing anything, that's complaining. Just remember that, okay? Plus, we all make mistakes and experience failures. We do. It's one of the best ways to learn things. It's not fun in the moment, but it's important and it's helpful. So there's no need to come down on yourself for something that spurs growth, which mistakes and failures do. Just remember to take like whatever learning lessons you can from those experiences, glean that information, take it with you, leave the best behind. No need to look back. Move on forward. Number 2, Take moments to slow down and think. Now, you might be like, Sabrina, why would I want to slow this train down if I am not experiencing happiness? You should. Take moments to slow down and think. When you are going full speed, like just doing all the things and everything you're doing, you don't get time to really ponder what could change or what needs to stay the same. Because maybe something needs to change for things to get better, for things to shift, for things to improve quicker than the current timeline, right? And you can't really do that when your brain is so full of everything and you're just going and try to like just hit everything that needs to get done, checking off everything on that list without really being like, whoa, wait, I could have done it this way the whole time and it would have been better. Awesome, let's do it right now. Those are the kind of wins you can get. So make some time to, take a breath and review everything that you're doing. It will help. You can ask yourself questions like, is it too much? Do you need to find help? Is there a better way? Is this even necessary? I like that one a lot. Is this even necessary? Yes. Okay, why? List reasons why. List reasons or, I don't know, repercussions, consequences of if you don't do it, or how things will be better if you don't, or how things will be better if you do. Really ask yourself, figure out, wait, is this working? I need to take a moment to really breathe and review and stop. So take a break and do that. Number 3, learn something new. It might feel counterintuitive to do this because you will feel so overwhelmed with whatever you're going through and not finding happiness that it's like you're immediately like, why in the heck would I add another thing to my plate? But this is actually really helpful. Learn something new. New skills can be really exciting. Like, think about the last time you learned something new and how you told everyone that you learned something new and how you're really proud of the fact that you learned something new. It can be really exciting. And when you start to really understand whatever new thing that you are doing and that you're working on, it can cause so much happiness because you're just like, that's me. I did it. I'm awesome. Look at this. Even if you don't say those exact words, you just think them in your mind or you say them in a different way out loud. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. Spending time learning something new can also distract you from whatever is causing you stress in your life as well. And that's a bonus. That is a bonus feature. Let's not count her out, okay? It is fantastic. So learn something new. Really engage in something that's going to distract you, but also help you become your best self, which is what we're all out here trying to do. Number 4, widen your perspective and apply gratitude. So did you really think that I was going to let you get away with this whole thing and not really talk about how gratitude is helpful? Even though at the top I told you sometimes it's really hard to lean into that, but it's still something good to do. So widen your perspective and apply gratitude. You might not like this one. It's totally fine. But it can help if you let it. You have to try things. You have to let them work and then be like, yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Try to widen your perspective on what is happening in your life. Like literally, I always talk with my hands. And if you're watching on the YouTube, now you'll know the craziness that happens. Like this was, sorry. This was happening before I started recording the podcast. And also if you didn't know, yes, the podcast is now on YouTube. Not all the episodes, just the last 6, 7, whatever. So yeah, talk a lot with my hands. That's fun. Anyway, try to widen your perspective on what is happening in life. I like to really use the example of you are so zoomed in. It's like your face is almost touching. Like if you were looking at a piece of paper and your face is almost touching the piece of paper because you're looking so closely at everything that is happening. We get so zoned in. We magnify our problems because we're so close to them on what is happening directly to us that we forget to step back and see other good things going on in our lives, how what we are going through is affecting others, which that can also be something to consider, and also reminds you that you're not alone. You are not alone. And maybe that's what's happening And then maybe that like what's happening to you isn't actually as bad as you thought it was. I feel like that's one of the biggest things. If you actually take time to widen your perspective and really realize like, oh wow, this thing that I thought was like a really hard, terrible end of everything kind of thing actually isn't. It's not that bad. That's probably the most saving grace you can get, because it's like, oh wow, like I kind of like overdid it on like worrying and being upset. Great, let's dial it back a bit. Have a party. Chips and salsa, let's do it. So, chips and salsa are like a party to me, just so you know. I love chips and salsa. Anyway, widen your perspective, apply gratitude. So when you widen your perspective and you're like, oh wow, like this isn't as bad, or other people being affected, how can we band together? How can we support each other? How can we realize that this will give us more opportunity to see like what can help us, what can be there to help shift our mindset? Then you apply gratitude. Then you're like, okay, I am so grateful that all of these things that you couldn't see because you're so focused are so great in my life, how these are blessing me, how these are helping me, how these are not failing me despite these things that are. And again, it helps to shift your mindset to not want to sit in that pit of despair and be sad. So consider that, widen your perspective and apply gratitude. Number 5, make a list of things you can actually change. There's a lot of things in life that we cannot change, minus our attitude, clothes that we're wearing, how we respond and react to people, things that come out of our mouths. Those things we can change. There's a lot of other things in life we can change if the circumstances and experiences and the timing is right, whatever. Make a list of those things and then go try to change those things, because if there are a lot of things that are outside of your control that are causing pain and suffering and problems and struggle, then find the things that you can change. Can you change the people that you're around because they're so negative and you need better people in your life? Can you change the things that your child is learning that maybe they've been picking up on some negative things? You need to change the things that they're seeing because they're just mirroring everything you're doing. Can you change the way that you are trying to do like self-help? Like maybe these books aren't helping. Maybe you need a podcast. Maybe you need a YouTube. Maybe you need to read a book. Maybe you need to listen to another podcast. Maybe you need to talk to someone on the Zoom face to face. Have a community group. Like really make a list of things that you can actually change and then go after those things to change so that they can better you and help you realize that, okay, I can be happy about those things that are changing despite these other things over here that we are working on getting better. Number 6, remember there's only 7, so there's this one and the last one. Number 6, find something to look forward to each day. It sounds kind of silly, it does, but it can be so super helpful, and I feel like something small, and that doesn't necessarily have to cost you money. I know that can be a really big issue for a lot of people, but find something to look forward to every single day. So this can be something as small as like grabbing a coffee. Maybe you do that before work or like during your first break at work and you really like coffee and you're like, oh yeah, coffee, it's going to be great. Maybe it's spending time with a friend, calling them on the phone, getting to take a hot bath. I love a hot bath. A new book or a game that's being released that you're looking forward to enjoying. Like my husband loves when like a new like update comes for one of his games and he gets so excited and it brings up so much happiness in him. And I get excited about new books being released. It's so good. Maybe putting together a Lego set. That brings me joy. I'm currently putting together one of my friends' Lego sets. It's pretty cool. I'm excited. It's slow going, but it's fun. But it can be really helpful if you have something at the end of your day or after the toughest part of your day. So maybe like after work or after school or after your kids take a nap or something like that or whatever it is. Or after your roommates leave and you have like a break to be by yourself. Like whatever the case may be, it's nice to have something after you get through that tough time. So you have something to be looking forward to help you get through those tough times, experiences. And then you get your like little thing at the end, your little treat, your little exciting thing. But there is nothing stopping you from adding something in at the top of your day as well, if that's what you want. So if you want something to look forward to at the top and at the end so that your day just feels complete, that's great too. It's whatever you want. So find something to look forward to each day that'll cause you happiness, something that'll help push you through, get through the day, something that brings you joy, whatever it is. Choose that. Have it every day. Maybe there's a span of time in your life where you don't really need that to get through because things are going well enough. That's great. Don't do it during those times. And then you can pick it back up again when you need it because it's just that extra boost. Okay, number 7, and the last one, we made it. We made it, friends. Number 7 is help someone else. Help someone else. You can definitely increase or produce, foster happiness by helping someone else. Stepping outside of yourself is one of the best ways to stop obsessing over what you're going through and help someone else with what they are going through. So whether that's a friend, a family member, maybe you go and help out, like, I don't know, classic example would be an animal shelter, or maybe you'll go to like a community shelter, or you'll do like some work at church or another community group or somewhere in your neighborhood, or pick up trash, or like whatever the thing is. If you are able to just like help someone else, you know, especially if it involves you doing something that you're really good and gifted at, then you can really foster a ton of joy and happiness because you're using your gifts and things that you're really talented at doing, and you're really thriving in doing that, and you're also helping someone at the same time. And you're just so grateful to be able to do that for them and to be able to display what you're good at. I think it's a win, 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 million wins all the way around. So consider if you are lacking the ability to be happy, to lean into those feelings, especially if you really want to, help someone else. Step outside of your problems, give it a break, tell it to take a rest, and be like, what can I do for you? Now, there is a thin line here between taking a break and helping someone else and running from your problems. Please do not run from your problems. Please do not pretend that your problems don't exist. Please do not try to pretend that they are not there, that it will not help solve them or help you move forward in life. You'll just come back to a mountain of more mess to deal with and clean up. I promise you, it'll be harder. Just don't do that. Just help someone else and then go back to you. And it also might provide you with perspective of like thinking about your issues in a different way and how to solve them. Because you've given your mind a break from focusing on your own crap, focusing on someone else, and it has some time to do a little bit of work there in the subconscious, which is pretty cool that our brains can do that. Okay, so that is everything I have for you today in regards to ways to be happy even when life is tough and sucks. And I really hope that all of these tips have really helped you. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast, again with me, Sabrina. Please remember to check the show notes below. You can join the Facebook group. You can sign up for the weekly newsletter. You can, what else? Join me on Facebook. You can send me an email. There's also a link for you to submit anonymously podcast topics, which I would really greatly enjoy. Either send me an email or a DM on Instagram, or if you want to do it anonymously, fill in the survey. It's literally one question. I will not know it's you, I promise. And that's it. But thank you so much for listening, downloading, and sharing the show. You guys are all amazing. If you are watching on YouTube, hi, and thank you for watching. Share with your friends, it'd be great. But until next time, have a good one, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.